Hey everybody. So I hope you had a good trading day. Today was a pretty good one. Lot of movement and a lot of follow through, which is really what you want to see. And especially seeing how we did yesterday to how we did today is pretty much exactly what you want to see. So let's just get right into it. And everything's going to be in alphabetical order. Just clean this up a little bit. So first and foremost, in regards to Apple, let me put the symbols back up in here because a lot of the people that are watching this on a mobile apparently have a hard time seeing the symbol up here in the top left. So this is pretty much doing everything right. Now we're going to just draw this a little cleaner now, okay, because it's giving us a little cleaner of a look. So this is a pretty nice reversal bar today and a pretty decent move for Apple. I'm not exactly sure, where we go from here, but the fact that you're closing at, one of the top all-time highs is something you definitely need to pay attention to. So this is a pretty decent base. It's not enormous, but you've been trading for over a month and just going flat. And what's really important about this is you can see how this line 145.09, it just became what? It just became our support. That's exactly what you want to see. Right? You want to see that happen. And it has. So look for that. Look for a little break of this wedge line. It won't take much. 149 3/4, and you're pretty much there. That's really what you're looking for. But I think if you see something like that, this could continue to go. This is just, it's setting up. It looks perfect. AMC, I thought we might see more of a move today. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I want to zoom in on this a little bit. Okay, you did not close above the 8-day moving average, the simple moving average. As a matter of fact, you closed right on it. That's not really what you're looking for. My hope was to close above one of those averages and push. So, just FYI, I have a position in this, just a disclaimer. I'm looking for it to break and get above this 21 day. That was my goal today. I didn't do that. I thought we had the opportunity here with this doji breaking out of this trend line to get me up to here, frankly, 38. And that's just not what's happening. So I have to see how this plays out tomorrow, but just watch this little area right in here. That's really important. But overall, I think that I think this is shaping up, and I think it's possible that you bottomed, but you really need to see, you need to see the follow through here now. That I'm accurate, that it has. But I do like the action today. I think it traded great. I don't really see much more to add here. I wanted to cover it because we did break the downward trend line, which is only the second time that we've done that since it's been in existence, closing above it. But I don't see any reason to do anything else with it. Just hold off on it for now. AMD, I got asked a lot about this one today. And, I got asked also a bunch of questions about, articles that people are reading that's saying that sentiment is changing on these names. And, I got two questions on it today. It was kind of interesting. I guess there's a lot of articles out there. You just have to remember who's writing these articles and who they're writing them for and who's paying them. If you start thinking about it that way, it kind of changes a little bit on how you're going to think about them. But in regards to AMD, here's your wedge line. You broke your wedge, which means that you're going to start trying to base. Now, I'm either going to hold 104 or I'm not. Nobody knows if we're going to hold that or not, right? And the 8's curling down, which is not great either. But with that said, what we need to do is make sure that we're going to hold that line. Now, if we don't hold that line, just get out of the position and move on to the next one. Other than that, there's really very little to do here. Just continue to hold on to it. But that's really how I look at this one. That's what makes the most sense to me. So just focus on that and we'll go from there. But you're in this range now, and you really got to get above and close above that 109.17, but you're just basing. Just leave it alone. Let it do its thing. ASAN did what most really great stocks do, is it pulls back and really makes you think that you're going to get stopped out, right? And that's really what happened to us here. Pulled all the way back after breaking out formed this wedge line, and look where we closed again. I haven't redrawn this yet. Look where you closed, right against that line. So to me, that's the target price, and that's where I'm at with it. We can see tomorrow if we're going to flip or not, but if you made your 9 points, if you want to take it, take it. Now, you do have a couple things that we should probably go over. You have earnings coming up September 1st. So in 2 weeks, earnings are. So I don't know if you want to stay in this or not for earnings. That's something you have to decide. Obviously, all this writing is from the newsletter. If you don't get a copy of the newsletter, you can get one for free every week. And the line is in the description. There should be a link in there to get in there. But and you can just follow along. But I really think that you hit the top of this. I keep waiting for the breakout. I was waiting for the breakout here. I was waiting for the breakout here. It's not doing it. I'm not saying that it's not going to do it. No one knows if this is going to happen. What I'm simply saying is, at this point, right, we have $1.70 of loss was our stop, and we have $9 of gain. Right? So essentially, you're close to 5-to-1 on risk versus return. If you just want to lock that in, just lock it in. There's no reason not to. So, in regards to Bumble, I'm just not going to raise the target price on this. The more I look at it, the more I think about it. That's it. Until it flips, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep covering it, but I'm not going to raise the target price on it. Just because I'm riding that line. Bumble, BMBL. So right here, we are seeing some decent action in between. Hold on 1 second. 44 to 52. Okay? And what is that telling me? Let's see here. Right? Here's your 8. Here's your 21. Here's your 50. You're pretty much wedged in between your 8 and your 50, right? And the 21 just happened to close like right in the middle of that bar. This is a pretty wonky trade today from pre and post, right? And looking at it after hours, I mean, it's kind of a wacky move. And you're seeing these wacky moves like a day or two after earnings. Look, this is not something I would be chasing here. I do like the increase in volume. To me, if you really wanted to get my attention, what I would do here with Bumble is the following. Hold on, let me just draw this out. Okay. And then from here, there we go. So let me just draw that out. But what you really need to do is you need to look at this level and go from there, right? And maybe you can get up to this 57, 58 level. And that's really what you're looking for. I mean, that's really what you're trying to shoot for. I think it's possible you break the 52 and you've broken this trend line, but really to confirm that move, you have to get above here. So you have to get above this 53 and a quarter. So we'll see if that happens. Now, BNTX, I just want to cover, we've been covering it the other day, we've been covering it today. The only good news that I can point out about this is the following. The selling has slowed. This is the first day we haven't hit a lower low. It's the first day on BNTX. Let me put these symbols. I thought I had this symbol up there. I guess I don't. There it is. So, it's one of the things where, and let me go take a look at this. I mean, these are just our notes from before. I mean, we obviously got stopped out of the position, and there's not really much to do now. We did well with it, obviously. I mean, we were up 100 points on one of them, 105 on one of the positions, 150 points on the other position. So, I mean, I'll take that every single day. But I don't know that the trade's over. I know that you have more uncertainty. And the efficacies that came out today weren't great. In regards to the Delta variant, someone was reporting 46%. Like that's not all inspiring. When you look at like mRNA, that was like 72%. Now, I don't know enough about this. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know how they tweak this for variants. I know nothing about that. All I know is that people that were getting this and thinking that this is it, this is the last thing I need to do is to get this, and once I get it, I'll be golden. That's not the case, right? We're seeing more and more people have issues. So that's an issue, and we have to see how that issue is going to be addressed. But in regards to that, here's the following that you really have to focus on. From here to here, right? That's your range. Now you're hitting that 8-day, and I said this today, your 8-day is what you have to watch. Now you got within $4 of it, $3 of it, and then you just pulled back. So to me, it's not ready to go, and you're just basing in here, and really what you're forming is a bear flag. So you just bide your time on this. I'm not saying to short it. You just don't know when the EU is going to come out and issue their report either. So you really have to just watch this. BTCM. So this was one of the smaller names. I actually like this name, and I don't think the move's over. So, and let me just preface this. I have a position in this, just to disclose it. So I broke out here, right, and I broke out with this curling up. I had all this huge selling here. Look at all this selling. And I hardly went down. Next day it came down a little bit. I retested this 907. And now I'm starting to get perky again over here. And today wasn't a great day, but you have to look at these stocks. And I was discussing this earlier, and I just to walk through it. You have to look at these stocks and realize that they are aggressive, speculative stocks, and almost think of them as options and trading them like an option. In other words, there's a chance that this could go to zero, right? Theoretically, there's a chance that that could happen. I'm not saying it's going. But based upon that, just control your risk. Maybe give it a wider berth of a stop and more range and see what happens with it instead of getting stopped out every 50 cents. Because when you have something thin like this, and this is thin, even though it's trading millions of shares, algorithms and the high-frequency traders can knock this around very, very easily. And all they're doing is taking you out at your stop and then running the stock. Right? And then you're out of it wondering what happened. So just keep that in mind. Okay, just please keep that in mind. I think when you get over this 907 and then you're going to start going 1018, you're going to test this 200-day moving average 11, get to 13. I think all this is possible. There's a couple key things that are coming up, right? We have earnings coming up on the 17th, and Bitcoin needs to go higher. I don't know if I'm going to be in here on the 17th for earnings or not yet. I haven't made that decision. I'm going to have to play that out and just see how it acts. But I really like how this is curling up, and we really haven't had that happen for some time. And we really haven't had the 8 really truly curling at this trajectory and crossing the 50. We truly have not had it since it happened back here and crossed to the downside. So to me, this is shaping up for a move. We just have to let it develop and see if it comes to fruition. So in regards to Caterpillar, I like the name. I think they're going to continue. You rode the 200. You stayed above the 50-day. You have to understand this about Caterpillar. Okay, Caterpillar does not move 6% in 2 days. It just doesn't do that. If you look at it, it's like all of a sudden one day it'll go up and then it'll base for a month and it'll go up and then base for a month, right? It doesn't move like this. So when it does move like this, it's going to take a little bit of a rest. And that's all you're seeing is it just taking a rest. To me, it looks like it's forming a flag or going to start forming a flag. A couple more inside days before we try to break out of this 227.92 level. If you're concerned about it, don't touch it or add to it until you're through 227.92. But frankly, I think that these industrial stocks look great, and I think they're going to continue higher. So CHWY was one from the newsletter I got asked about today. Let me just caveat on this. I get asked about, I think it's up to like 200, 300 names a day. So if you don't see your name here, it just means that it wasn't actionable today. It doesn't mean that don't ask me to look at it tomorrow. Let me just throw that out there. I'm trying to get in front of things that are actionable so that people have a game plan for what is most actionable tomorrow. And for time constraints, unless we're going to be here for hours, I can fit in about 20 to 25 effectively. And that's how I go about this. So, but CHWY was one that we got in the newsletter, 91.50 with an 87 stop. I can tell you right now, the stop's definitely getting moved. and the stop will be moved to this low 91.26. For those that get the newsletters, for those that don't, that's where we're moving the stop to. This breakout bar is exactly, I love bars like this. Like they're the best, right? Like you open at the low and you close at the high. It's exactly what you want to see. You're respecting your 8-day. You don't want to close below that. But if I have another bar break this, I'm going to break this whole flag. And let me just show you that, because a lot of people might not even see this flag. So you see how you're right here, and that's your breakout bar over this, even though it doesn't go. Then you pop out, and now this starts a high tight flag. Now if we start here with this, and you come across here, okay, you can kind of see the makings of that pendant, right, on top of this flagpole, which is right here, right? Look what happens when you broke above it today. You just went. And I think that's really important to understand. I think that this is setting up for a much larger move. Now, in regards to earnings, we have time. We have plenty of time. You have to September 1st. So this could continue to go, and what I like about this is I'm in this now. Now I'm in the red bars. So what that means to me with CHWY, what I could do is I could start working my way up. 99 is probably my next level. Our target on this, or my target on it, I should say, is 120. I don't see any reason why I can't get back there. If I can get up enough into this into 100 before earnings, I will probably hold this into earnings. You know, I can give it a shot and see how it does. Now, sometimes it does bad, right? Sometimes it does good. So we just really don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But I do like the name, and I hope it'll move. So Coin essentially did what, Coin does. And we're just going to walk through this just so we can all understand this. So this was your breakdown bar from before, okay? And this was that one wick we had to get above and stay above, okay, 261. So we're just going to use those two levels. So essentially we came out with earnings and we ran right to that level, opened and rejected, right? The next day we come out and we look like we're going to go. They open us above that level, run it to convince us to get in, and then what happens? They come out and they take it down. So, and now today we have, Bitcoin's a little weak today, so what happens? They gap this down. Opens at what? The high, closes where? At the low. I can't be any clearer than you need to avoid this. I know people are excited because of the earnings. I mean, the company did come out and say that volumes are going to be substantially lower next quarter versus this quarter. That's not what you want to hear. You want to hear about increasing volumes, economies of scale, things like that. So, see what happens with it. I would not be rushing into this. I do like how the moving averages are starting to get wider and spread. You see that? We haven't had that yet. So now we're having that. But I'd be in no hurry here. To me, this is completely busted again. Even though you're above these moving averages, I could see why somebody would be short this. Right? Here's your rising trend line. You broke your rising trend line. I mean, this is day one of the short, right, with this being your stop. So I could see why somebody would be short that right now. And you would probably be thinking that you're going to get to this 242 and maybe continue to trend down. So just something to consider. CPRI, Capri Holdings. So I haven't looked at this name in a while. Now, let me just put this up here. In regards to CPRI, I mean, I just don't have any volume. Like, there's no volume here. So that's somewhat concerning. It's acting great, but there's just no volume. And this is your trend line. You can head up to these levels. Looks like we looked at this before on a weekly. Let me just get to that and see if I'm right. Yep, so you have a weekly up here. And here's your top level. Now I just have to try and keep going. But I'd like to see volume. I don't like when I'm breaking out and I have this little volume. It doesn't work for me. So I would avoid this. But I understand why you want to play the breakout, but If I don't have volume and I don't have demand, the probability of it failing is greater. So here's a great example. So here's an increase in volume on DDOG, right? I could totally see why somebody's buying this. You have an increase in volume. It's exactly what you want to say. You come here and look at this wedge line. Okay? Keeps hitting it, bonk, 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 right? Breaks out today and goes. All you need, right, to really now, the only thing you need is to break above that level. If you break above that level, that's confirmation that DDOG's going to keep going. I mean, that's what you need. If you break that level, I'd be really surprised if you're not going to get up to this, and then that puts you in a whole different stratosphere. And that can happen. I could see how that could happen. So that's definitely one to consider and to take a look at. It acted exceptionally well today, in my opinion. So Disney had earnings, and their earnings were extremely good. Their subscriber growth was up substantially. And that's really what's going to drive these names and drive this stock. Subscriber growth, that's what people are looking for right now. And you're seeing it across the board. Fubo had really good subscriber growth as well. But you're going to get to that 191 level, and then we're going to have to see if we're going to hold or not. You can see that level right there. So, and I think that's really kind of an important level. You've been wedged in here for a while. So let's just see if it holds and see if it gets through, right? But at this point, at 189, you really can't buy it. You had to buy it earlier in the day after hours. Right now, you just were holding it and hoping that it breaks through there, because if you do, you're probably heading to this 200 level fairly quickly. If I get through this level, I'm probably heading here pretty quickly. And the fact that you have this base from here over is exactly what you want to see. So in my opinion, DraftKings broke out today, okay? Here's our downward trend line, right? And let's get rid of all these indicators for a moment. Here's my downward trend line. Here's the top, and I can drop this down to here. Here's the top of the higher high after we broke the double bottom. So I break my double bottom, right? I need to make a higher high, which means I have to get above this. Today was the first day that we closed above that, right? So that confirms the double bottom. Here's your wedge line. In order to confirm this wedge line, what do I need to have happen? I need to get above here. So now my double bottom's in and I'm above this, okay? Now, overlay these with it. And now I'm above my 200-day moving average for the first time since June. So, and I did it on above average daily volume. So that's pretty much everything you want to say. Now, the one thing I would just throw in so we could take a look at it is that we're just find out where point of control is and VWAP. Okay, so we're looking at point of control, which is this purple line, so we're good, but look at where VWAP is. Okay, so that's volume weighted average price on the stock, right, to this date, okay, from January 8th. So what is that telling me? Well, that's telling me that I have to get above this level. So that's really what we're shooting for now. We're really shooting to get above that level, which looks like it would be 55 and a quarter. Getting above there, and you probably push. I am a little concerned about this, that volume that's just sitting up there, but I will probably take the trade if I get through 55 and a quarter. I like the name. DLO. Okay, so with DLO, what you're seeing is you're just in a trading range. And I really don't need to spend an inordinate amount of time covering this one. But you're just in a trading range, and you're between these two numbers, and nothing has changed. And I just wanted to point this out very, very quickly. Okay, you broke out of that today, but you still have to get above this in order to confirm, which means I still have to get above this to confirm. So nothing's really changed, but it does look like it's getting ready. EXPI is one from the newsletter, and we're doing okay with it. We got in at 48.60. We're at 53 3/4 today. It came down the other day. This is exactly like textbook stuff, what you want to see. Like look, you pull back and you open right at the breakout, right there, boom. And then the next day, what happens? It fills the entire wick and then just goes higher and then closes at the high. So to me, this is, if you see this get above 54.45 tomorrow, 54.50, you're probably going to go a lot higher tomorrow. You probably have follow through. Whenever you have 3 or 4 day patterns and then they reverse like this, it usually means that the buying that you thought was over is really not over. The people were just taking a rest to see how it's going to act, and then they're going to come back into it. So I do think that this is setting up to go higher. My target on this, just on technicals, is for this to get back into the 80s. I think it can really move. The earnings were phenomenal, and the stock's been doing well ever since. You know, you have to realize that you're going to have to give these some leeway when you have volatility. And just the way it is, you're looking at it at 50, you want to get out. Today it's at 54. It's why you constantly move your stop up to protect yourself, but you have to stay in them if you want to make outsized returns. So FRHC is one that we really haven't looked at in a while. So we're going to look at it today, obviously, but let's just see what's going on here. So you broke out 68.17, couldn't hold it, came back down, 68.17, 68.17. Why would you buy this until you get through that line? I mean, I don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but I just want to point this out. There's no reason to buy this until I'm above 68.17, period. I have not been able to close above it. Why would I ever think about getting, hold on one second. Why would I ever think about getting involved until I get above that? There's just no reason to. So IIPR, I got a lot of questions about this one today. You know, it's acting great. I think we got up a little bit higher today, and even though it finished red, this is an all-time high close. You know, it's funny, I got asked for about a lot of newsletter stocks today, but we got in this at 212. We're up about 10% in it, or 20 points. Just leave it alone. No need to do anything. You're through everything now. The move's just beginning. I mean, the hard stuff's over. Now you're through. Now you just leave it alone, and you let it. You know, maybe it comes back down, builds, goes higher. Now you have to let it base and figure out what it wants to do. We don't have to worry about earnings for 3 months. There's literally nothing to do here, and you know it probably continues to grind higher. So I was asked a lot about airline names today, a lot. So instead of just doing airline names, I'm going to just do the airlines global JETS ETF as a group. So to me, it's all one trade, right? Like if you go through it, it's all one trade, right? I mean, that looks just like this. Now you're going to see compartments of it, like ALK, right, is going to look better, right? And that's because ALK has a better balance sheet. UAL is going to look worse. So you know, there's little nuances to it, but essentially it's one big trade. And what you're seeing is you're seeing people not travel again. And we all know why. On top of that, you have oil prices that are through the roof. So right now, these companies really are not able to sustain themselves. Now, what you're seeing happen here is the 200 is being respected and the 50 is about to cross it. Okay, so this is what we commonly refer to in the industry as a death cross. Okay, and a death cross means that when the 50 crosses the 200, these are done. Put a fork in them. It's very rare that this happens, okay? Usually when you see it happen, that's the end of a move. Like, see it happen up here, this 20-50 crossing, that's a death cross. And there's the most significant ones are the 50 and 200. We can look at the 21 and the 8 and talk about these crosses like there's something. Okay, they're important. But if you're looking to make real money, like huge moves, focus, and you want to use this, focus solely on the 50 and 200. Okay, when it breaks here, look what happened. I know nobody knew that this was going to happen, but guess what happened when this started happening, right? People thought that, oh, this is over. It can't go any lower. 25. Okay, we went to 11, right? And look what happens when you crossed up over here, okay? When you crossed up over here from here over, all you did was what? Go higher. Now you're setting up to cross lower, and you're here. Why would you get in front of this? I would pay very close attention to this, and I would be looking for shorts in these still. I do not think that these are done blowing up just yet. I think they have more pain to go. And I don't think they're going to get bailed out again. I truly don't think that that there's going to be enough reason, if they have issues financially, that people are going to step in and bail them out again. People are kind of sick of hearing that, the American people don't get bailed out, but these corporations do. People are over it. That's kind of the sentiment out there right now, and rightfully so, in my opinion. But that's a topic for another time. But I really think it's important with this because, this is not like the cruise line industry. You don't need the cruise line industry. Some people might argue with me and say, yes, you do. But you need planes, right? It just might mean that the people that get hit on these, if these come in, and I do think that you're going to see one or two of these go under, that, maybe it's Spirit who charges, $20 to fly halfway around the world somehow. I don't know. But some of them are going to get hit, and I'd be really careful with it. So NVIDIA, I'm just going to cover very quickly. There's really very little to do here. You're trapped between the 21 and the 8. I want to just throw this out there. I know there's a lot of articles. People keep talking about these semiconductor stocks and how, the move's over, sentiment's changed. Sentiment has not changed at all. As I said earlier to somebody today, has someone found an enormous supply of specialty semiconductor chips somewhere? No, they have not. Okay, they need them. People are slowing down their production because they can't get them. It's a real issue. Limited supply, massive demand that gives you pricing controls. Okay, anything that's specialty in semiconductors over time from here most likely is heading higher. Qualcomm, and let me point this one out because this did something great today. I really like this trade. So, see this wedge line? So you broke out of that wedge line. You want to see this continue. So what you would look for tomorrow is you want to see it break above this line, 148.01. Get above 148.01, and we should be able to get to 151, 152 very, very quickly. I like this trade a lot, Qualcomm. So Snow, I know a lot of people are watching this one and following it. And, you have earnings coming up. How it does in the earnings, nobody knows. I will say this, that this is pretty much the highest close that we've had since when? February? That's not bad, right? That's not the worst thing in the world. Now, I do have above average volume. I did get above this line. So it's doing everything that I need it to do. What we need to see is we need to see a push and try to get up to this level. Now, will it do that? I don't know. But here, we drew this line before, and we have it just sitting there, and look where we closed, right? So that's not really a ringing endorsement just yet. But get above this tomorrow to 87.98, and that's something that we can pay attention to. So SOFI, we're just going to cover this after hours. They came out with earnings. They have lowered their revenue guidance, but somehow they're affirming. So, I think that's going to add to the confusion. You really shouldn't lower your revenue guidance. Just from a corporation standpoint, it really plays with your credibility. How can you confirm year guidance and lower quarterly guidance? It makes people very concerned about corporate governorship and what you're saying. And that's going to scare institutions. You're better off coming out and saying, hey, things aren't going as great as we think they are. We're cutting across the board, right? You're better off having a kitchen sink quarter, throw everything in, and then go forward. Dripping out your issues is a recipe for disaster. And that's really what it seems like they're doing here. Now, if you break this level, this is your just drop dead level. If you break this 15, you need to get out. If you're in this, and you can see how we already came to that level. So if you're in at 15, you need to get out of this. Under no circumstances would I buy this right now. So I wouldn't go near it. SPRT. So it looks like we followed this one down here, and we finally were breaking out. We have all these wicks. I just wanted to point this out. Like, this is really strong. I don't really understand the volume and but this is really strong. When you're here, You come down, you test the 21. It's bought at the 21. We go back through the open and we close it a high of the day. And we close at a high of a day on like this little pattern right here, right? Look at this little pattern for us. So we close on that and we close above it. Like that's good stuff. So can this go? Yeah, it's got to get above this. If I can get above this 824, 825, it can go. You can get into these wicks, right? And then you just have to start using the tops of these wicks, like 1084 is your stop. TPX, this was one we had in our top 10 list. Enormous growth, right? Just broke out, did exceptional. And if you don't follow me or subscribe to the channel, you might want to consider it. We do a top 10 list every Saturday, and they've been doing fairly well, and we do a pre-market show every morning, 8:45 live, and we just run through the names. But in regards to this, you tried to get through 44, couldn't do it, and now you're just sitting here. And what kind of bar is that? It's a long-legged doji, right? Because you have a long leg this way of price, right? And then you have a long leg this way down. So, and I'm going to link that candlestick video again at the back of this video that shows how to identify these and what to do with them. But there's nothing to do there. So UPST was one I added today, and really what I was looking for was to get above 172 emphatically. And we did, and then as soon as we did, it just took off. So there's not much more to say here. Obviously, you broke out yesterday, you came back down. This was very difficult to trade because once you're down off that open and you fall into this wedge, this stock could theoretically have gone back down here and gap filled to 140. So at one point I actually had puts on this yesterday and they didn't work out. But the trade doesn't work and you have to learn how to read price. And I'll just walk through this very quickly so that people can understand this. What we did was, okay, and let me just get rid of these indicators. So I was just watching this wedge line. We broke the wedge line. This is what I broke and put the puts on, but broke above it. I'm like, okay, this isn't working. Broke here, and I'm like, that's it, I'm out. Now from there on, fairly certain we had a trade. Well, there was the trade, and then it just took off, okay? And it's done exceptionally well. Now you're pulling back down. I don't expect you to go straight up, and I put this out there today, and we did okay with it today. If you got in at one point, you're up $12. So I like it. I do think we're going to get a test back down on it just because it's so volatile, and I think that's going to be a buying opportunity. I really think you need to look at this. This is not over. I don't think this is over by a long shot. I really don't. And right now you're at that 178 level, so I think this can continue to go. VCLO. So in regards to this one, I just want to point this out. You had a flag that you were building, right? VCLO is this one. Let me put the symbol up. And if you could do me a favor and like this video, because it's my goal to get in front of as many people as humanly possible and show them what it takes to be truly successful at trading. Thank you. So you see how you're like wedged in right here? Right? See how the 8, you can't get above the 8, and you're sitting right below the 21? Like, this is not where you want to be. And this is your flag, and I'm breaking on the flag. So I don't know what they do, but I would not be a buyer of this. If I was in this, and I'm not out yet, 1370 would have me out. Finally, Wish. We came out with earnings tonight. Okay, we closed at 9, and we came out with earnings tonight. And, I mean, the only thing you could just call it is an absolute just outright dumpster fire. It was just an absolute disaster of a quarter. And you're seeing what they look like and what happens with those. Maybe it bounces here. I would not be rushing into this to try to catch this bounce for 50 cents. There's much better names to try to do that with. So that's pretty much it. But in regards to this in particular, just avoid this. Don't try to rush in and bottom feed off of this. It would be nothing for this to break this level here. Look at this. Okay, this is your drop dead level, right? And look at where you're at. So this is not where you want to be. Okay, this is not where you want to be. This has I'm going to $5 written all over it right now. So just be very careful if you're in this one. So that's it. As always, have a great evening, and any questions, please comment and let me know.